I am the director of LGRMS, and if you participated in this webinar last year, it's going to be pretty similar to what we're really going to talk about today, about the safety discount program, how it relates to the loss analysis and safety action planning. This is a new initiative that we developed last year. We sent out last year. There were a lot of questions and concerns. If you did it last year and it was acceptable last year, it's going to be acceptable this year. So I'm going to send out, after this webinar, I'm going to send out the recording and the presentation and a couple other things after the webinar to anybody that registered, but I'll also be sending it out to all those folks that are the key safety discount contacts and or safety coordinators. So as I said previously, if you have a question, if you have a comment, do not hesitate to raise your hand or write me a question in the question box. The more interactive, the better it is. If you have a question, more than likely everybody else has that same question, so don't be afraid to ask. So let's get started. The process, as you can see here, this is a year-round process. So we want to get away from awaiting the field reps call saying, hey, I'm going to be here in a week, and you do all the documentation and all the training and everything else that needs to be done that week before. We want to get in a situation where you're working year-round to, one, identify what your issues are and put a plan in place to address those issues. To be eligible for the 2019 policy year, and this is the 2019 discount, the requirement must be completed in this booklet, and again, if you need one, please let me know. I can send you that information. Between October 1st and 2017 and September 14th, 2018. You get to submit the discount verification forms no earlier than August 1st and no later than September 14th. If you have any questions, you can contact Penny Henderson and she'll help you through that. Also, again, the LGRMS field reps, Steve and Natalie and Vincent and Chris, will be out to your locations throughout the month of October to collect these discount verification forms and to ensure that you are doing what you say you're doing. So the safety action plan is really the key to this discussion, and it involves particularly for only workers' compensation. So if you are a workers' compensation member and you want that 7.5% discount, you have to complete the safety action plan. Again, you developed the plan in 2018 for the January 2019 renewal. We'll provide you, ACCG will provide you assistance, but we want your ownership at multiple levels to create this true success. Again, we can come out and tell you what your issues are. We can tell you, hey, this is what you focus on. But ultimately speaking, the only way you're going to resolve these issues is and have a culture that addresses these things if you take that ownership. And again, these action plans should be completed by September 14th before we come out and do some of the verifications. So why are we here? The real premise is to reduce impact to the health and safety of our employees and ultimately their families. Again, I've never had a sadder moment than to tell a family member that their loved one is not coming home because of a work-related incident. It's very, very, very tough situation. So ultimately, it's about ensuring that our employees are able to go home to their family and friends at the end of the day. Ultimately, a lot of people are very interested because of the discount, and we want to provide you that discount. We'll bend over backwards to do what we can to ensure you're meeting those expectations, and especially within the safety action plan. Although this is a couple years we've done this, so we're going to have a higher level of expectations for quality of these action plans, more so than we've done in the past. But ultimately, we want to reduce costs within the pool so we can reduce premiums for everyone. And as you can see here, over the 3-year period, we have total incurred of about $60 million. So that fluctuates more than likely, probably with development factors, that's probably going to be more like $100 million. So we're looking at about $30+ million a year in regards to overall workers' compensation costs for the ACCG workers' compensation insurance pool. We want to help reduce that. What is the purpose? Again, it really helps leaders understand what's driving claims. As I said before, we're not going to have any impact in regards to changing your cultures unless leadership engaged. And that could be leadership of your overall organization, your county administrator, to the frontline leader. They need to know what the problems are and how to reduce those risks. And they need to take ownership of those risks. The worst thing I can hear when I go into a department or into an organization and I talk to a leader is bad things are going to just happen. That's part of the work. That is a defeatist attitude, and ultimately it's going to result in higher risk levels that are exposed to your employees. We can control these risks. We might not be able to control all risks, but there are high risks that we can control that is going to reduce the risk to our employees. It will enable focus on meaningful risk control efforts. So again, if you identify where your losses are, you identify where your risk trends are, you put a plan together, you're going to be able to focus in on what the issues are versus hopping from one issue to the other. Historically, most organizations, it's about the squeaky wheel syndrome. Joe Bob at the end of in the public works says his issue's the worst, and Sally over in Parks and Rec says her issue's the worst. You need to have a plan that really says, hey, based on our analysis, this is where our issues are, and this will help you focus on that. The ultimate goal is to better protect employees from similar accidents. Again, financial incentives to reduce premiums through safety discounts and experience lower modifications ratings. Again, suggested steps. So we highly suggest that you start off based on your analysis, you identify the teams that are having, or the departments that are having the most issues. So potentially it's your sheriff's office or your public works or wherever you're having issues. And you want to look at who's going to be the most cooperative too. So let's say the sheriff's office or public works office is, that's where your issues are, but they're not willing to cooperate with you. You really want to get into a location that you're going to work, and potentially you would start with a small team, potentially some leaders in that organization, maybe the department manager, maybe somebody if it's in the sheriff's office, the sheriff, or somebody within their command staff, and maybe some frontline people that are very engaged and interested in helping reducing risk within those particular organizations. You gather that team, you gather the loss analysis data and identify 1 or 2 focus areas. Again, we're going to provide you that loss analysis data. I'm going to talk about how we can get that to you. One, how automatically it's going to get to you, and if you want additional data, how you can request that. You're going to educate organization leaders on the loss analysis and get their commitment to develop an implementation and an action plan. Again, you want to go to those department leaders once you've identified this analysis, where those issues are, and you want to sit down with those leaders and get their commitment to produce a safety action plan. Again, if they're not willing to commit to doing it, if they're not willing to commit to implementing it, it's probably better to work in a department that's going to provide that level of commitment. The premise is not to put something on a piece of paper. The premise is really not to look good. The premise is to reduce risk. And if people aren't willing to do this, and if you don't have the ability to control them, move on to another department that you think will have a better ability. Work with focus area leaders to develop small a small to develop a small team to develop implementation of an action planning. So kind of what we talked about at the beginning with. And you might look at leaders, command staff, and frontline employees to be a part of that process. Who should be involved in this process? Again, safety coordinators, ACCG risk control, us. If you want us to be a part of this, let us know. I know Natalie Sellers is out there working with the members to help them produce and develop action plans. I know all of our field reps, Chris and Steve and Vincent are all doing that too. So let them know and they'll be able to help you. Potentially elected or appointed officials might be required. We want to get them engaged also. We want them to be aware of this so that they're assisting with the change of the culture, and they know what the issues are and they know what we need to do to help reduce those. Supervisors and the managers, of course, and then the frontline employees that you want to have engaged. Those are all people that should be involved in the process. How are opportunities identified? So we're going to provide you with a 3.5-year loss summary by department by cause. Again, the analysis is prioritized where the most dollars are spent, which accidents are the most frequent, and where can you direct loss control efforts to be applied to reduce similar accidents. So let's say, for instance, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later, but you have a trend, potentially of something you don't have a ability to control on, you don't have a lot of control of. So, and not necessarily in this case, but let's say that on the GRMA or on the IRMA side, on the property and liability side, you have losses related to storms, hurricanes. Well, we don't have the ability to make a lot of control in regards to that. So maybe we should focus on things we have the more ability to control on. So let's look at some examples. Here's what we're going to send you, and you should be receiving this. Your organization should be receiving this sometime this evening. It will go by department, and it's going to talk about where some of these issues are coming from. As you can see in this is within the Sheriff's Department. It has total incurred. It's got the number of claims, which is the number of claims. The total incurred, which is reserved plus paid. It's got total paid, and then you guys your other line on it. That's what you're going to be looking at. And then you got the category of how that breaks down based on all those incidents. This is, again, similar report. You have the Sheriff's Department, wastewater, public transportations, and it's continued. You can look at this to really identify that. So if you look at this, you look at the Sheriff's Department, 44 claims, $43,000 in total incurred are related to persons in act of a crime. That's really altercations. So arrests and altercations. What can your Sheriff's Department do to help reduce costs related to altercations? And there's a variety of different things that we can assist you in, at least making suggestions to do. De-escalation tactics, additional training. There's other things that we could get into that would help reduce that. So other reports that are available to you that might provide a little bit better substance on where to focus. We have this report that we can run for you. So if you're looking for these, the reports previously are going to be sent to you prior to, sometime this evening. These reports will be based on requests. So if you want these reports, all you have to do is send me an email saying, hey, I'd like a report like this for my county, and I'll send this to you. So this slide shows how you compare against on a rate of claims greater than $500. So number of claims greater than $500 per 100 employees. So if you look at this in 2014, this county member had a rate of 6.7% or 6.17 injuries per claims over $500 for the year 2014. On that 3-year rate, if you include 2014, 15, and 16, it's got about a 6 or a 5.79 or about 5.79 claims per 100 employees. You look at those other charts, it really depends on how you compare. So the overall rate, if you're an extra large member, I think those are members over 700 employees. A large member is somewhere between 200 and 700, and so on. You can see this member is higher than average, and especially higher than the overall of a 3.68. So this might tell you something. Hey, based on our numbers, we are having a higher rate of claims greater than 500. Now, why I've chose $500 as the rate? Typically, we want people to encourage people to report claims. We don't want you to discourage them. And the more claims you reported, we don't want you to be penalized in regards comparing you versus others. So we look at a lot of people report claims that have nothing, that they have no dollar value at all. We want to encourage that, because the quicker they're reported, the more likely we are to be able to manage them from a medical perspective and from a risk control perspective. So we measure it based on that. We also provide breakdowns by departments. So if you look at this, police, and we have law enforcement who's updated these a little bit from when I first presented this, but police has 136 claims. That would be the sheriff's office. They have 23% of the dollars associated with that. That might be a place to look. You look at public works, they have 7% or 2% of claims, but they have 32% of costs or total incurred there. And you can see how that breaks down based on all of the lists here. And those might be the departments you look at, but it really depends on who's going to be willing to work with you. Where are the fish, and what fish is the best place to start fishing? Again, it goes down into a department level. You go down to program types. So in this particular, this is all county departments. It's looking at where are our claims occurring. So non-category really is a category kind of fit all. If you caught your finger in something, or if you got cut by sharp objects or something, or if something hits you, an object hits you, that's what they're at fit. And typically we see that's a pretty big number. You can see 190 claims associated with that. But if you look at the dollars associated with it, typically the dollars aren't as high. Where we see most of our claims related are ergonomics, slips and falls, and motor vehicle incidents. That's where the vast majority of the dollars we have are within those, and then altercations within law enforcement. Again, this is a fire department. Again, you might look at this. So where are their claims occurring? You want to look it down to the department level, because developing, from my perspective, if you develop an action plan for your overall organization, unless you have a very small organization, if you develop, there's individual cultures based on every department. So you really want to focus in on the departments. And I have a question. I'm going to go, I think, let's see. Ashley Abercrombie, let's see, asks, are the counties required to submit a copy of their safety action plan this year with the discount forms to ACCG on or before 2014? That is correct. They are required to submit an action plan prior to 2014, or prior to September 14th, 2018. So that is correct. They are doing that, as we talked about in the first couple slides. Let's see. We have another report that provides additional information based on losses. And again, this is going to be a little bit more, a little easier to follow, but you have, and we've broken this down by different labels. You can see they have total of 414 claims at about $1.4 million over that 3-year period. It's broken down in operations with its public works and maintenance and things to that effect, emergency services, which is fire and EMS, law enforcement, which is sheriff's office, and it goes down through a variety of different things. And then it talks about where what losses or where they're occurring by category, ergonomics, non-category, which we talked about, slips and falls, motor vehicle, law enforcement operations. And then it goes down to the department level, so emergency services. And we'll break this down to more, rather than emergency services, to fire and EMS versus, I know they don't group together, but we'll break that down there. But you can see here, ergonomics, they have 30 number of claims, 30 claims at $252,000 over that 3-year period. So that might be something that you want to work on. If you look at law enforcement, again, slips and falls, 26 claims at $96,000. Maybe that's something that you might want to work on. Again, if you're looking for those, this report and the previous report, all you have to do is send an email to me, and I will send you a copy of that report to your for your member or for your organization. The next slide is really the LGRMS report. It's a kind of an all dashboard report, raw data. So it'll give you the loss date. It'll give you what category, if you're an extra large or large. It'll give you the claimant's name, the claim description, the department, a cause, and if you have any ability to sort things by departments, you can sort this, and it's pretty easily to determine where you have issues. The value of this report, really, especially compared to those other analysis reports, it provides more detail. And let's say that you have one claim that has $500,000 associated with it, or it has $100,000, but it's already been controlled, or you never think it's going to happen again. Why would you focus on that issue? You probably want to focus on something that you think has a higher likelihood of reoccurrence, a higher risk of reoccurrence. So those are things that you would potentially focus in on. If you, again, this is a snapshot of the ACCG website, their insurance page, and as you can see on this particular snapshot, there are, if you go to accg.org/backslash/insurance/GSIWCFD or discount.php, you'll see that they have a link to the ACC Safety Discount Program. So you can see that there. You have fillable documents. So you have the safety discount verification forms for counties and authorities. And then you have a sample safety action plan. So if you need the safety action plan, you can download it there. If you want the workers' compensation Bill of Rights, you can download that. And the physicians panel, those are all downloadable. So please, again, if you need any help, please don't hesitate to give me a call, your field rep a call, and we can help you out with any of these particular documents. But they are all available for you on the ACCG website. This is the safety action plan example. And as you can see here, we're going to go through it a little bit, what we want to fill it out. Pretty simple. Talks about your membership, the time period it's going from, and again, you're going to look at what departments are the issues and what their issues are within each of those particular departments, and then you're going to do an action plan down to that level. So let's look at one that's filled out. So again, within this action plan, you want to put your member name. So if you're a county, if you're authority, you want to put that in there. So what's the time frame? And I would actually put a specific time frame. I have the year 2017, but maybe you want to put from September 14th, 2018 through 2019. Maybe that's something you want to do. Maybe you want to do a 6-month review and then look at that. But that's something you should put on that specific time frame. You look at the #1 focus area department, that would be the sheriff's office. And historically speaking, sheriff's offices have about 35 to 40% of our workers' compensation total incurred costs. That's paid plus reserves. And as you can see within this made-up member, motor vehicle incidents account for about 27% of their workers' compensation costs, and altercations account for 33% of their workers' compensation total incurred costs. You look at number 2, or the number 2 focused office department, you look at public works, again, ergonomics or lifting. Again, ergonomics is made up of any type of strain or sprain related to the musculoskeletal disorder, such as lifting, pushing, pulling, reaching, awkward posture, repetitive motion. Those things would go in there. And maybe within this particular category, maybe you're going to look and see, maybe it is specifically lifting, maybe it's reaching, maybe it's pushing, pulling, but you're going to try and get it down to a level potentially that you're going to focus a little bit more on, that you'll be able to, it's easier to solve a small problem than it is to solve world hunger. So maybe you want to reduce these losses down to a level that's a little bit more specific. So altercations, maybe you want to focus on altercations in a certain circumstance, and I'm not sure what that particular circumstance is. The same things with slips and falls. So for instance, in this particular case, falls off of trucks is the issue. So they're having issues with, we constantly have people being injured from jumping on and off the back of trucks. So maybe that's something you're going to address within your action planning within public works. Here's the action plan example. So within the sheriff's office, what are you going to focus on? So we're focusing on motor vehicle incidents. It's 37% of workers' compensation. The nice thing about focusing on motor vehicle claims is that we have a process to manage it. We can help you do that. But also that if you reduce it from a workers' compensation perspective, more than likely you're also going to reduce the risk of liability and or property damage associated with motor vehicle incidents. So you put your goal, whatever that goal might be. So in this particular case, yeah, they used to have an average of 12 motor vehicle incidents a year. They want to cut that goal in half, or cut that measure in half to 6 motor vehicle incidents a year. Again, maybe you had 20, maybe you had 3, whatever it is. Maybe you want a 25% reduction, but we want something that you can measure so that you can determine if you're successful within your goal. I'd rather have you say typically we have 10 motor vehicle incidents a year, and I want to reduce it to 8. I think if that's a more realistic goal that you can achieve, I'd rather have you achieve that goal and focus on that goal than having, hey, we're going to go from 12 or 10 down to 0. I want something that's going to be achievable based on the resources you have to apply to that particular goal. And if you look at these enough, if you have brainstorming enough to help you produce these action plans, ultimately speaking, you're going to be more successful reducing risk for your membership. So in this particular plan, again, they're going to communicate the goal and the status to departments in monthly meetings. So the sheriff's office has a monthly meeting, they look at their numbers, and they will talk about that within their meetings. Now, does that look like an impossible thing to know? That's pretty easy. What does that tell people within an organization? Well, it tells me it's important. My sheriff, my boss, feels that that's important enough to discuss in monthly meetings. Hopefully that's going to have an impact to you when you're driving out in the car. Hopefully that's going to be something that you know that it's important to you, that it's being measured. Again, enhance and develop motor vehicle policy. Maybe you don't have a motor vehicle policy. Maybe you do, but it's not sufficient enough. Maybe there's things that you can put in there. One of the things that we highly suggest is having a develop a post-incident investigation system. So if there is an incident involving one of your deputies or police officers that you're going to have an investigation to determine how that occurred, and if there was corrective action that needs to be put in place, a change of behavior, a change of engineering, that you're going to do that prior to the next operation of that vehicle. The only way you're going to be able to address motor vehicle incidents or any incident is being able to review those to determine really the root cause of those incidents and put a plan into place to prevent those from happening in the future. If you have an action plan such as be more careful, more than likely you're not going to have any impact at all in regards to reducing an incident. Being more careful is not measurable, and it's not an action plan. So make sure that you're doing something that is measurable, that is going to have an impact in regards to reducing risks. The last part of this, again, you're going to do that for both departments, two departments, both your whatever departments you identify as having the biggest opportunity for improvement. And again, in this, once you have that, you're going to have the leader, hopefully either the top administrator or elected official, the county commissioner. They're going to put their name there. They're going to sign it saying, I believe in this process. I'm committed to this process. I'm going to sign it. And then you're going to have the leaders of each of those organizations. So if it's the sheriff's office, you're going to have the sheriff or the chief deputy sign this, saying that they're committed to the plan. They understand where their losses are, and they're committed to following through with those expectations. The same thing with the second department identified in this. And as I said previously within this call, look, we've been doing this for a while. We've been pretty easy in regards to looking at these. We're going to hold people to a higher level of quality in future action plans. We're going to make sure that you have identified your areas and you really have a plan to address those. So again, being more careful is not a plan, and that would not be an acceptable action plan. So overall, again, the premise behind this, action plans are available on the ACCG website. So if you need those, pull those off. You can also send me an email and I'll send those to you. The loss runs will be emailed to you after the webinar. So those loss runs, the initial ones that I showed you, will be emailed to you later today. I will send you that other analysis, the specific analysis, pie charts, or that one-page report that kind of talks about percentages by cause, or the raw data. I'll send you that based on requests. So if you send me an email requesting that information, I will send it to you. We want you to, once you've developed that action plan, we want you to communicate it to affected parties. So you go to work, you identify the departments, you develop a team within those departments. They work really hard identifying the areas of opportunity. They develop a plan that's going to really affect it. We want you to be able to communicate that to the departments. We want you to be able to say, hey, this is what your issues are. This is our goal, and this is what we're doing to reduce that. We're going to communicate and talk about how we've done against that goal, at least on a monthly basis. And that's one of the things I'd like to see. Ask for assistance from ACCG Risk Control or LGRMS. So, if you has questions, you don't really know where to focus, you can call your field rep, you can call me. We can do individual discussions based on your losses. I will do whatever I can to help you out so that you're successful in developing a plan that not only meets our expectations, but ultimately will help reduce risk within your organization. Again, review monthly and discuss progress. The worst thing you can do is develop a really good plan and then hide it away in the drawer. Make sure you're looking at it, that you're measuring it, that you're holding people accountable to ensure that those things are being completed, and then being able to measure your success and or failure of the results versus that plan. Again, you might be doing a lot of different things. It might not be focused on the right area. So if you're not having an impact, if you're not having to reduce, you need to ask the question why, and then go back and look at how do you adjust that plan to really have an impact. Celebrate successes and improve where needed. If you have a success, if you've seen a reduction in risk based on what you're doing, even though you might have had similar results, but you've seen a reduction in risk, behavior, and culture and discussion, celebrate those successes. People want to be successful. The worst thing you can do is going out there and hammering people for not, you want to make sure they're a part of this team, that they know they can be successful, that they can be successful in reducing risks within their organization and within your organization as a whole. And again, update and tweak annually. You might want to update and tweak 4 times a year. This might be something that you're looking at updating and tweaking based on your results to see if you have some level of effect. So let me open it up for questions or comments. Anybody got any questions or comments? I'm going to see if I can find somebody that can talk to me. Let's see. Ashley, are you out there? Can you hear me? Can you talk?
This is not Ashley. This is Chris. I don't know why it said Ashley.
Okay. Chris, do you have anything you want to talk about? Any questions you want to answer?
No.
Nope. Okay. Very good. Bobby Howell, are you out there? Bobby Howell.
I'm here.
You have any questions? Any comments?
I don't have any questions, but you sure have helped a lot.
Good.
Since I'm relatively new at this, and so this really helped.
Well, again, don't if you need more help, don't be afraid to call me. Don't be afraid to call your field rep. Be more than happy to help you out in regards to resolving these issues. So, thank you so much.
I have called, and everyone has been real helpful, and I will be emailing to get a few more of your analysis.
Good.
I've got the loss runs, but I need a little more that you had.
Very good. Very good. Let's see. James Cady says Ware County is good, and thanks for the update. Very good, James. Let's see. Anybody else have anything? Well, I thank you guys all so very, very much. I really appreciate your time. Again, I'll be sending an email with this presentation, with the recording. If you want some additional reports and documentation, let me know. There'll be a loss run sent to you today. But if you need anything else, please give me a call. Thank you guys so much, and have a great rest of the day.